Yo, what's happening everybody? King GBL here, and welcome back to a brand new Go Bat Like video. Today's video we're going to be showcasing Poliwrath in the Ultra League, and if you do stick around to the end of the video, we're going to be showcasing my starting elo for the season. In this current meta, Poliwrath is super strong. As you guys know, steelix recently got buffed with Breaking Swipe, and those things are just absolutely everywhere in the Ultra League. Poliwrath is a fantastic budget option to take out steelix. It cost me around 250k to build this Pokemon, and I built a very high rank one. As you can see, 0.15.5, very defense weighted, which gives you certain bulk points. So even if you wanted to, you could definitely build a less optimal Poliwrath, and it would still perform super well in the Ultra League. I definitely do recommend going for the bulk, because there are a few bulk points, but Poliwrath I think is probably the best budget option in the Ultra League currently. And like I said, if you look at the top 3 of the meta, Registeel, Steelix, Cobalion, this thing completely destroys all of them. It actually has a decent match against Virizion, despite them having super effective Leaf Blades. And of course, it's similar to Medicham in the Great League, where the Ice Punch coverage gives you a lot of play against Flyers, and overall I was super impressed with Poliwrath, and I'm really happy I built it. These games are actually from my live stream, so if you want to tune in, I'm going to stream Ultra League every day this week, so feel free to turn on notifications, subscribe, and feel free to tune into the streams. Had a ton of fun. Big shout out and thank you to everybody who came through, dropped a follow, and all that kind of fun stuff. So hopping into this match here, looks like the opponent's in a pretty tough spot. They did have a Tentacruel, which basically beats my entire team. Now this team we're running is with Charizard as a safe swap, and Pidgeot. The reason I'm safe swapping Charizard is because Steelix and Registeel, and of course like the top 3 Pokemon as we mentioned, all take super effective damage from Charizard, and if they do happen to have an Ampharos, you can probably CMP them on the Blast Burn, and look to try and take out the Ampharos as well. The 2 biggest core breakers I run into were definitely Tentacruel and Ampharos. We run into Ampharos twice, and I happened to beat it once, so it is still playable, and it is possible to beat those teams. If you get it in the lead, you basically have to stay in with Poliwrath and come in and farm it down, which is going to be a little bit awkward. Generally though, buffed Ampharos with the new moveset, it's usually running Trailblaze, and of course Brutal Swing, which is basically a necessity for Ampharos. If you do get it lined on Pidgeot, you can debuff the absolute life out of it, and you know, even though it is an electric type, it doesn't really enjoy moves too much, so you may even get a shield with the Brave Bird. In comes Charizard, and actually in comes Ampharos in this game, and what we're going to do here is, like I said, apply a ton of debuffs and try to get this as low as possible. You're seeing that they're using super effective Volt Switches, and of course we're using resisted wing attacks and resisted charge moves. The opponent, like a savage, goes for Trailblaze, which would be resisted damage, but however we're going to double debuff them once more, meaning that they're triple debuffed, and at this point we can comfortably live a Brutal Swing. Now the opponent's probably thinking at this point that we're going to start YOLOing Brave Birds. They go for the Brutal Swing, that does absolutely nothing, and they're really struggling to farm us down. The opponent throws off another move. Can we get to another Brave Bird in time? That does take us out. We're going to come in with Poliwrath, go straight for the Ice Punch. I want to try and get rid of this Pokemon, even though debuffed, my Charizard does not really want to see it. We are kind of forced to swap into Charizard so they don't farm us down. And once again folks, they're on Trailblaze and Brutal Swing, and as you can see, debuffed Brutal Swings don't do that much. The opponent goes for a catch on Virizion, and folks, this is just game over for them. We're going to go for a huge overfarm here. Make sure that we leave with a Blast Burn. If the opponent left with a move, we will be able to CMP them on the move and take this match. So as you're seeing, we found our biggest core breaker and we still were able to overcome it. The opponent sends through the Volt Switch, so they were not at the move, and that's good games very well played. We take out our biggest core breaker, and we've actually beaten 2 of our biggest core breakers in the first couple of games. Now, I don't necessarily recommend this team, but it was a lot of fun to use, and I got a ton of really good leads with Poliwrath. Tons of these things, 1 or 2 Steelix, and a lot of really positive leads for Poliwrath. Now right here, the opponent made a really nice catch on Weezing. However, we're going to come in with Charizard and just absolutely eat this up for breakfast. And we're going to farm the whole way up, and I noticed that they didn't throw the Brutal Swing straight away, which means they're most likely on Poliwrath Overheat, which is perfectly fine by me. Now what I'm going to do here is farm all the way back up to 6 again, and CMP the opponent on what could be, I think, an Overheat, which would do the most raw damage here. Boom, smoke goes up the chimney, and in comes Gradient. We're going to let this go. We can definitely live this move. This thing is super spammy though, and I go straight for the Blast Burn here. We'll see if this was a CMP tower or not. It looked like it might have been. The opponent swaps out into Skeledirge. I'm going to go for a Dragon Claw here, and Skeledirge is quite an interesting Pokemon. I did see quite a lot of these in the lead as well. Of course, people are trying out the new Pokemon. Now, what I'm going to do here with Pidgeot is, because we're going to definitely... okay, I guess I didn't go for it this time. I'm just going to put it all in Poliwrath. But generally what you would do is shield up the first one and apply the debuff. So in this situation, you shield up the first one, the opponent ends up seeing the writing on the wall anyway. But in this situation, if you're going to shield at all, shield up the first one, apply the debuff, and then you can take way less damage after. We get a very negative lead in Virizion here. What I like to do with this lead is catch on 6 and Pidgeot. Now normally my safe swap is Charizard, but just in case they have Leaf Blade, I'm not going to mess around with it. In comes a Steelix. This is hard counter lead, hard counter swap. Steelix absolutely hard walls the Pidgeot and all of the moves. So what we're going to do is just pay the favour back to Steelix a little bit, We're going to insta for Andy this move just to make sure to get it off before they breaking swipe us, because every little damage against this thing could be very, very useful. Now guys, at this point they've overfarmed a ton, but they're quadruple debuffed, which means they're so less threatening, and I can actually come in for a huge farm down with Poliwrath. Now I think at this point I'm going to start YOLOing Brave Birds. I want to actually lower my defense here and allow them to take me out a little bit quicker. We're going to try to get to the next move. The opponent does realize that we're getting them quite low with this resisted Pidgeot, and that still doesn't take them out. Unfortunately, don't get off the move, but that's perfectly fine. We're going to eat whatever they decide to throw here, and as you can see, this breaking swipe does absolutely pitiful damage. The opponent's going to farm up to an Earthquake, and once again folks, this is going to do absolutely nothing. Earthquakes are hitting like wing attacks, the opponent swaps out, we swap out as well, and they end up insta-throwing the move. And here's the thing guys, they throw a Leaf Blade at the start, which usually means they don't have Stone Edge. They either go for Secret Sword Stone Edge, or Leaf Blade Secret Sword. It's super uncommon to see these with both of those moves, Leaf Blade and Stone Edge, so we're pretty safe here. Now, I realize that I don't want to take another move, even though resisted, it will get us quite low. We CMP them on the move, and we're going to look to launch a Blast Burn. Back in comes steelix, they're super, super low. They're going to let this go, of course, and this should just about take them out, and we'll see what's in the back. In comes Gradient. Now, we're going to fire off a Bait first move. I've got so much energy in Poly. This is a little bit unnecessary, but my thinking here is, like, all I need to do is just apply chip damage to this thing. I'll get a shield with the Blast Burn no matter what, and at that point we can look to counter it down and spam out Ice Punches. Sometimes the opponent calling a Bait as a win con. In this situation, there's just no win con. They have to shield up something. Even if we keep going straight Dragon Claw and shielding, if we could shield for this and go straight Dragon Claw if we wanted to, it really wouldn't make a difference at this point. We're going to YOLO off the Ice Punch, the opponent's going to shield it up, and at this point, we can just go for a Scald and look to finish it off with a few counters. Good game's very well played. We're seeing a lot of the buff Pokemon. This thing is kind of thick. They're getting off a last second move here, and the timer is coming up because, of course, we had a good debuffing session this match. The opponent sees the writing on the wall, and we get a very awkward lead in the next match, Tentacruel. Once again, we kind of have to stay in this matchup. Now they're going to launch a Scald, which of course will be resisted damage. However, they're just doing way more pressure to us. Now what I decide to do is go into my hard swap right here, and we're actually getting off the Feather Dance just before they dip out. Now, unfortunately, we're actually getting a nice little chip into this, but Blizzard will still do so much damage. I can't afford to let this go so quickly. And the opponent's not swapping straight out here, which is very, very suspicious. In comes Obstagoon, and ladies and gents, Obstagoon is not an answer for Pidgeot. So what I decide to do here is debuff their attack. Of course, they catch that move. We're going to debuff it once more, and then we're going to look to YOLO or Brave Bird, which will basically either take it out or get a shield off the opponent. Now, the opponent's actually stayed in here for so long that I can actually swap out right now. So I realize I've got them quadruple debuffed. I'm going to look to farm up a ton of energy and basically come back in with Poliwrath with loaded energy on that Pokemon as well. We already have a Scald loaded, and this thing, like quadruple debuffed, cross chops are going to do it once again absolutely nothing to Poliwrath. Back in comes Tentacruel, but look how low they are. They stayed in for so long to get off that move on Pidgeot, and at this point Scalds are actually threatening this thing. The Scald, despite resisted, will get this super, super low, and may actually put it in a range where we can counter it down. Poliwrath is super, super thick. This Toad does not give a shit about anything. Look at it go. Look at it go. Jellyfish cannot sting you if you punch them, and we're going to see what comes back in. The opponent comes back in with Obstagoon, we would get one counter through, and that makes me think it must be Scrafty in the back. They don't want to receive any counter damage. However, we've got a Brave Bird loaded, and we have a Charizard. That is just party over for Scrafty, and in comes a very interesting lead in Skeledirge. We're going to farm the whole way up here. They do outpace us to a move, and this move, even though super effective, you're going to see once again, Poliwrath has no problem eating super effective moves. Unless it's an absolute nuke move, like a Dazzling Gleam or a Moonblast. Even a Moonblast from Cresselia does not KO this Pokemon, so it is super, super bulky, and it does quite a lot of damage as well. We do catch the resisted move on Charizard, and in comes Mandibuzz. Now, if you ask me, Mandibuzz is not an answer for Charizard. Ariel, ask me all you want, you can double buff that move, it's still not going to take us out, and we're going to start launching Blast Burns on this thing. Aurelius basically got buffed into an Ice Punch or a Fire Punch clone, so you might as well call this move Flying Punch, because that's essentially what it is. It's the same damage as the Elemental Punches, and of course the same energy as well. We're going to go for yet another Blast Burn, which will take them out, and at this point what I decide to do is shield up. Blast Burn from Charizard is so devastating, and I decide I'm going to bank it, and I'm going to come in and go for an Ice Punch with Poly, which I think puts us in a really good spot here. They can come back in with Skeledirge, but they actually come in with a Ferrothorn. This Ferrothorn is going to get absolutely deleted off the face of the earth here by Blast Burn. However, as you can see, Grass type versus Water type, this Water with counter is just absolutely doing a ton of damage. The opponent goes for CMP. They farmed up to double moves. However, this is just a party over for the Ferrothorn. This Grass type is going to get absolutely wrecked. They can go for the Thunder on Pidgeot, but they're not going to have any fun here at all. We're going to farm it the whole way down, and it's their choice. Do you want to die to a Blast Burn or a Brave Bird? Choose your poison. Brave Bird or Blast Burn, yep, come on in, give me the extra farm. In comes this Skeledirge, and that's good games. I guess Brave Bird would definitely do a lot more against that thing, and yeah, very good games well played. I'm respecting the spies from the opponents, and in comes Greninja. This thing gets absolutely walled. They come into Galarian Stunfisk. That is not an answer. That is not an answer for Poliwrath. Are you smoking something? What's going on? They let it go as well. Ladies and gents, the opponent's just in an absolute mess. We shield up the Earthquake, countered all the way down. The easiest shield I've ever had to make in my life. In comes Charizard. And at this stage, I know they've got Greninja. My Charizard is basically dead weight against Greninja, so we're going to come in here and just try to basically take it out with this thing. Now, unfortunately, they actually got an attack drop. The opponent is just in an absolute shambles. They come into Greninja, but as you guys know, this thing is an absolute glass cannon. It's not even glass, it's still sand. You can just kick it over. This thing takes so much damage, and the opponent's basically forced to throw in the Charizard. Now, the opponent goes for Hydro Cannon. I'm going to look to come in and just absolutely punch this frog down. They can throw a resisted move all they like, but Poliwrath's going to come out with energy, and I'm sure you guys can see the writing on the wall. However, the opponent has not yet seen the writing on the wall. We're going to just quickly no-shield the Dragon Claw, because we live that super easily. Now, once again, do you want to get taken out by a Scald or a Brave Bird? The opponent chooses Brave Bird, and we come in with Pidgeot. Now, I was going to no-shield this move just to flex on the opponent, but I decided, you know what, we'll be respectful, shield up the Blast Burn, and the opponent finally does give up the match. Good games well played, and let's hop on into the next one. Skeledirge. Skeledirge is so cool, man. This Crocodile, it's not rocking right now, but I think it has some amazing matchups in the Ultra League, and it's a Pokemon I'm pretty excited to try out, actually. Once again, I'm going to be streaming. Man, the stream was super fun today, and we actually went 15 out of 25 with this team, so I highly recommend checking that out. I may try some different Pokemon tomorrow. Now, I actually catch after 2 here, to, of course, catch the Disarming Voice. In comes Swambass, and now we're up a shield here. Now, what I'm going to look to do, because the opponent's down a shield already, is probably just YOLO the Blast Burn. I think perhaps I should look to go straight Dragon Claw, but I just think this is more efficient. We CMP them on the next Hydro Cannon, and at this point, I'm thinking, okay, they're going to throw this move, and by that time, the switch timer might just be up. Can I burn the switch timer in time? I'm going to throw this one before they reach the move, and I think what I'm going to look to do is catch the move on Poliwrath. Boom, the opponent's about to launch a Hydro Cannon. They have no choice but to throw it. Poliwrath can eat this no problem. We get an extra counter worth of damage. Back in comes Skelly. That allows us to reach the move. In fact, they did just throw a Disarming Voice in Charizard, so they're going to get a nice little farm down here, but this is looking super tough. They swap out to Walrein. We're going to get off a last second Scald. Good thing for the opponent here, we're not running Dynamic Punch, which is a temptation. I think this moveset is definitely more preferred. Back in comes Charizard. Now we can easily level an Icicle Spear. That's one of the nice things about non-Shadow. You just take that much less damage. We go for a slight overfarm, just to make it a little bit more awkward for Skelly, to maybe convince him to throw, but we insta-swap out of here. They can throw any move they want. I genuinely think if this Pokemon had a better fast move than Incinerate, and maybe like a better charge move, it could be quite a good Pokemon. I think the Incinerate's definitely just a little bit awkward. They do get off 2 moves, that's absolutely not enough. And guys, that's what I love about Ultra League, man. You can really just tank a lot more damage, and you can play around energy, you can play around shields, play around the switch timer. It's so much fun for me, honestly, and if you're personally somebody who loves Great League and you're maybe a little bit sick of getting RPS'd, you know, the Bastion Victory Bell teams, that doesn't really exist in Ultra League. So if you can build yourself a few decent budget Pokemon like Poliwrath, Walrein, Swampert, even the Paldean starters, any starter Pokemon's pretty cheap. Of course, we had Charizard Community Day quite recently. I think the Steel types are a little bit hard, and you'll have to invest a lot of rare candy if you want to get like a Giratina, or of course a Cobalion, which you may have rated at some point. But like, I think rare candy is so much more accessible now, so I think it's very, very possible a lot of you guys could definitely start building Ultra League teams, and I think definitely Poliwrath, Charizard, these 2 Pokemon are a very good place to start. Now, if you don't have a Hundo Pidgeot, you can get away with like a 15-15-14 or something along those lines. The really good thing about Pidgeot is, it's a 1 kilometer body, so you can just throw that on a Polyphone and get 80 candies per day potentially, if you're on a phone swing, or if you're using, I don't know what the methods are, but if you're using some other method to get XL candies, like you can get that in a couple of weeks. Like I personally walked it, like walking to and from work, and like within a couple of weeks I had all of the candies, just getting my body excited without using Polyphones. So like Pidgeot's definitely a very obtainable Pokemon as well. If you don't have Pidgeot, you can look to swap it out for any other flyer option that you may have. Like I said, I don't necessarily recommend this team, but it was working super well, and in comes the Brave Bird on the Virizion. This is going to absolutely clap its cheeks, and good games. We're just spanking the pony here, and we're hopping into the next game. Like I said, man, it might look a little bit RPS, but we genuinely just had so many good leads with this team. Again, Obstagoon and Giratina, and again, like we can go for an Ice Punch in this thing. Now, Pidgeot absolutely walls Giratina, but they may have Ancient Power, so I think what I may look to do here is throw off an Ice Punch, just make this a little bit more comfortable, a little bit less awkward, make sure I can get plenty of farm, Also, the opponent may be an ancient power, so what we're going to decide to do is shield up the first one once again, look to apply the debuff, and at this point guys, you're going to see that ancient powers just really don't do that much to Pidgeot. This thing is quite bulky, especially whenever you're double debuffing them every time. And look at this position we're in. These ancient powers are doing nothing. Dragon Claws are literally doing like 1 HP damage each, and we're going to basically look to Feather Dances again and farm it the whole way down and just come out with an absolute ton of energy. We did invest a shield, however we've taken switch advantage, and we're, like I said, going to be able to Brave Bird or Feather Dance, whatever comes in. Back in comes Obstagoon, and I think I just YOLO the move here. I was just feeling very bodacious. We YOLO the move, swap straight out, and in comes Trevenant. And once again guys, this is like Metachamp versus Trevenant. These ice punches are no joke, and I think we can actually still just about live a Seed Bomb from here. Maybe from this range, maybe not, because Trevenant is quite, of course, attack weighted. Yeah, that does take us out, but like, this is like Noctowl versus Trevenant now at this point. Just an absolute hard wall for this thing. And whenever the opponent sees the Charizard, they're just going to top left. I go for the move in the last second, just to make sure that Obstagoon only gets one counter through. And they actually shield it, which is insane. They do not get off the Shadow Ball. In comes Obstagoon. We're going to go for Dragon Claw, which will not quite KO, but it's good enough at this range. And yeah, this is going to be good games well played. Guys, I actually got my ELO today, so at the end of this video, we're going to be showcasing my ELO, which is going to be pretty exciting. Yeah, we were going to try and go for a 1 HP knockout for the shield. Unfortunately, we farmed them down just in time, and we're going to have a look at my starting ELO. I went 2 free in my final set, but overall I went 15 out of 25. And yeah, like I said, I was super happy with this Pokemon, and very happy with this team. As you can see, I got 2138 ELO as my starting ELO, which was a little bit lower than last season. I think I was closer to 2300 last season, however. This season I've been using a lot more spice picks in the opening weeks and just more focusing on making content, which is going to be my basic goals for the entire season. Not really trying to sweat it out anymore. I genuinely don't even care if I get Legend. I do think I will get it, but I'm not really that bothered anymore. I just want to make fun videos and just enjoy Go Battle League. Let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are, and of course, if you did enjoy the video, hit that like, subscribe. I'd very much love to have you here. After this video goes up, I'm going to live stream straight away, so feel free to check my channel right now. I should be streaming. And apart from that, everybody, have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you all next time.